Hello, my name is Ben Barlow, and I would like to share just a few tips and tricks to help your high school students improve their research skills so that they can become more skilled researchers and process the information that they encounter in today's digital landscape a little bit better. Just want to take a few minutes and talk about how to help students evaluate the information they come across, how to help them begin the research progress, some strategies for teachers to use, and then how to help them be careful of copyrighted information, and also what is fair use policy and how does that apply to your classroom. Before we jump into that, we'll talk about why this is important. Students are bombarded with a ton of information in their day-to-day lives, and some of it's reliable, some of it they can build thought off of, but some of it is flawed or biased, and we want to help them learn to evaluate that information critically so that they're only using the best sources to construct their ideas off of. So let's talk about how to help students evaluate the information they come across. And I really talk to my students about thinking about who, when, where, and how they got their information. So first of all, the who, we want them to think about who is the author. Do they work for a specific organization? Can you even figure out who that author is? If they're working for a specific organization, then their information might come with some bias. We want to see if the author is listed and see if they have professional information or if they're coming from just some site on their own. After we've talked about who, then I talk about when was the information written with my students. When was the article written? When was that web page they pulled the information from last updated? We want more current information because things that were written 20 years ago, 30 years ago may have been proved false. They may have been confirmed, but there may be more modern information that's more up to date. So I talk to my students about looking for sources primarily within the last 5 years, but at least the last 5 to 10 years. Then I talk about where. Where did you find the article? Did it come from a reliable informational website, or was it a .com? So, somebody that's paying to put that information out there to get your attention. So we want to look for information from .edu, .org. .coms can be reliable as well, but you got to be careful. And then also .nets. A lot of those are where the university websites are, where scientific information is published. And finally, the how. How did you locate that article? Did you find it on Wikipedia, or did you search through some scholarly or library databases first? There's lots of them out there available. So we want to make sure we're not doing random Google searches and clicking on those sponsored links that come up first. Once we've helped students evaluate that information or learn how to evaluate information, we want to help them get started. And so I like to provide here. I've got some strategies to help for teachers to help show what their students are going to do. First of all, we want to be models as teachers. So we want to demonstrate the kind of things that we want them doing in our own teaching. So we want to be researching, finding our sources from scholarly places. We want to be making ethical decisions to not use copyrighted material inappropriately. We want to cite our information and give credit where credit is due. And then we can help our students get started. Okay? So when students start, I like to provide them with some research databases to go find scholarly information. My city, Columbus, Ohio, has a really great metropolitan library that has a research database available online. The school that I teach at has access to several different databases, but for those that don't have paid access through their school, ProQuest database and Google Scholar are some free search databases where you can find scholarly articles and peer-reviewed information. And then I also like to teach my students to do good searches. I don't want them to type the whole sentence in, but if they're looking for something maybe about calculus, because I'm having them research a topic in calculus, maybe they're looking for the history of calculus. Doesn't have to be a full sentence, but enough keywords to narrow down what they're looking for. And then once they've sort of started to gather all that information, I want my students, to be able to understand that the information they're finding is copyrighted. It is someone else's intellectual property, and it is copyrighted. So we want to make sure that we're building ideas off of other people's writings and not just stealing their ideas for our own. So with that in mind, there is what's called fair use in the United States copyright law. And basically what it allows is for students to use students and teachers to use other intellectual property for educational purposes. So we want to enhance education within the classroom, not just dump a bunch of information out there. So we're building, like I said, building off of what came before, constructing different resources together. The materials that we find need to make sure they're fitting a learning topic, not just out there, pulling some random YouTube video. We typically don't want to use even small parts word for word from the original source. We only want to use a small part of the original content, and we want to make sure that we are, like I said, fitting it into what we are doing. And then finally, we want to consider what any source that we're finding has on what we're doing, consider the effect of that. And we should make sure that we're giving correct credit. One thing that I like to share with my students when we're doing a research project is this little video called A Fair Use Tale. And it's great. When you have a few minutes, check it out. The author takes little tiny clips from a lot of Disney movies and stitches together a whole narrative about what fair use is, what copyright is, and how students can be responsible users of copyrighted material. So, research is critically important. We don't want to be just dumping information on our students. We want to be preparing them here in the 21st century to go out and find the information that helps them accomplish an educational task, and then to combine different resources that are reliable resources, unbiased resources, and turn them into learning that grows with it for that student. Got some great resources to share with you here. These are the ones that I use. I've got a tremendous number of other ones, but I hope this helps you, gives you just a starting place to help your students build their research skills. Thank you.